In this session we're going to show circular motion. First thing we're going to do is rearrange our graphic layout a little bit, our GUI, just so that you can see a different way of that works. We're going to move the graphic window a little smaller. We're going to resize the quick pick to be on the right. It's kind of convenient sometimes to do this. Users like this setup sometimes. First thing we're going to do is look at our arc part. It's right here. It's got a blue base and a yellow top, but we assume that it was loaded from a CAD system. And we're going to change the transparency to 50% just so that we can see it better. But we're also going to look at the frames or locations that were pre-taught on this part. These right here. For example, location is where it starts, and then loc number 1 is right at the start of the circular motion. Loc 2 is at the end of the circular motion, and loc 3 is at the end of the part. Then we also have an intermediate point that's taught on the curve, on the circular curve that we're going to use, you can see. And then we have an approach point, approach location, and then a depart location. Okay, so let's create a path using these, and then we'll get an idea of how the robot moves along, and then we'll add circular motion. So let's change the name to be arc path of this guy, just so we know that the path. Now notice how this Rolodex panel is not quite in there, but if we hit the reset, it puts it back in the Rolodex. Sometimes if you move the graphics, the Rolodex doesn't function anymore, but you can hit the reset and clear that up. Okay, so we'll select the locations. Okay, and it looks like we forgot to select the approach location, so we'll select the, well, not the depart, so let's remove that depart and select the approach. There we go. So the approach frame, so there's our path 1 through 6 now. Okay, at this point there's no circular motion. Let's look at the edit via table. Get all 6 vias here. First thing we'll do is change the blend to no fly course, so it's fairly close. Then the last, we'll leave the first via as a joint via to get the robot there, and then we'll move it in Cartesian straight line. And here we're just going to reset. It was a percentage, now we have an absolute value of 100 millimeters a second on the speed. So if we test the path, here's the robot approaching. It moves to the first location, second location. Now here the third location, it doesn't know about circular motion, so it moves right through the part. Then it goes to the final location, and it comes back to the depart point. Okay, so now let's add circular motion right around that middle section. Okay, so notice it's going from location 1 to location 2. Okay, so we look here, location 2 is the one we set it on because it's the motion to it. We change it to circular 3, which means 3 frames are necessary. It needs to have an intermediate frame. It uses the previous frame and intermediate frame, which we're going to select now. There we go. And we can preview the motion. Yeah, you can see there's the what we consider the circle that it's going to move on. Okay, so now we notice if we go via by via with the test path, goes to location 1, goes to the third via with location 1. There it goes, the circular motion, and then it completes to location 3 and comes up the depart. Okay, so let's look at the whole path, but before we do that, we're going to turn on another feature called tracing. We're going to trace on the world at this interval, and the color is red. You can change all those. We'll put it in the Rolodex just to make it easy. And notice it has a green border around it. Means you can click an object in the world or a quick pick. We'll click the arc gun. Now when we move along the path, it has this single trace you can see. Okay, that's the path of the gun tip, the tool tip traced out. And you can see it moves along our weld, including that circular part. Let's just change the part back to 100% or 0% transparency so you can see it, and you can see there's the path of the arc.